Welcome back to Mr. Holloway's Foundational Python Skills Series. In this video, we're going to learn about while loops. But before we get started, if you like the video, go ahead and give it a like, as well as subscribe to the channel. Let's go ahead and get started, and class is now in session. Okay, so before we get into the concept of a while loop, I just want to talk about the general concept. While loops are known as iterations or loops. We also have for loops, which I'm going to do another video as well. But I do want to talk about something and why we actually use while loops, and it's the dry concept. Do not repeat yourself. And so what that means is that whenever you have repetitive parts in your code, it's always a good idea to maybe put it in a loop or in a function, but you want to avoid repeating yourself in code, and we're going to get into that as well. But I want to talk about this. So if you remember, there was this mischievous kid who was always getting in trouble. It wasn't me, but they would have to write standards, and so they would have to write 50, 100 standards. And so here, this little mischievous kid has to write some standards to say, I will not talk in class. And so the teacher could assign it 100 times, 50 times, 25 times, depending on the offense. And so what I see here is a lot of repetition, which if the kid knew how to code, we can actually write this in no time. And so we're going to first talk about a while loop, and then in my next video we're going to talk about a for loop. So let's go ahead and get into a replit, and we will get started. All right, now so let's just talk about the structure of a while loop. The while loop is, in plain English, just say while something is true, do something. All right, so let's start this structure. So I'm going to create a variable, and I'm going to say x is equal to 0. Let me go. It should be okay. So that looks better. Lowercase. I'm going to set an initial value of a variable to x, and then I'm going to start the while loop. I'm going to say while x is less than 10. Okay, and then I'm going to say this is basically the do something. So we can. Let me see. Okay, so do something. Okay, so this is the part where it's going to do something as long as this part is true. Once it's not true, do something. Once it's not true, it will stop the while loop. Okay, now we're just going to go ahead and print x. So I'm just going to go ahead and print x, and then let's see what happened. But we're going to have a problem here. We're going to have a big problem. But I'm going to go ahead and run this, and then we'll see what happens here. All right, so if you notice, this continually says yes. So the output says yes, and if you notice over here, it's running, and it always says 0. So I'm going to go ahead and stop. The problem here is that this is now it's in what's called an infinite loop. Infinite loop. Okay, so an infinite loop is going to go on forever. And this is what we don't want. In some cases, infinite loops are good. In some cases, you may want them. But in most cases, particularly for this, you want to just be able to control this. And so this is not what we want. What we want is that we want this to basically count to 9. Actually, we can go to 10. So we'll say less than or equal to. So while x is less than or equal to 10, do something. All right, so now the way we avoid the infinite loop is by doing what's called the iterator. Okay, so iterator. So the iterator is something that just allows us to move towards our goal of ending the while loop. So let's do an iterator, and it's very simple. I'm just going to say x plus equals 1. Okay, actually move this here. And what this is going to do is that it's going to increase x. And so if you notice before, when we were in the while loop, x was always 0. So this is always going to be true. Okay, but in this case, it's actually going to loop through. It's going to add 1. It's going to go back. So imagine a circle, and it's kind of going around. It loops in, it loops out, and we'll see this in a second. All right, so let me go ahead and let's run this. And if you notice, it stops. So we don't have that infinite loop because we added the iterator, which is this thing here. So the iterator is just that piece of code that will stop the loop. All right. Now, before I move on to another example, I want to just talk about the loop in general. So what I want to do is I'm going to copy this code. Just need this, and I'm going to go to a website called Python Tutor, and I'm going to click on Python. This is an excellent website for helping you understand code, and so we're going to look at and see how this can help us understand the while loop. We want to get into the nuts and bolts of this while loop. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to click Edit Code, and I'm just going to erase whatever code was there, and I'm going to paste in our code from the replit. Okay, so what I'm going to do is click Visualize Execution, and what this does is, if you notice, here's the code, this is the output, and then there's going to be a frames and objects section, which will make sense in a second. Notice that there is a red line which shows the next line that's going to execute, and the blue line which shows the line that just executed. So I'm going to just go through step by step. So I'm going to click next, and if you notice, it has set the value of x to 0, so we have a value of 0, and now it's going to execute this. And so the condition is as long as x is less than or equal to 10, okay, do this inside of here. So I'm going to go to step 3, and so it's evaluated that. It's going to print x. So watch what happens here. Now it prints. Now watch when it gets to the iterator. It's going to add 1 now, because it was 1 to 0, and now it's going to ask the question, is 1 less than 10, or less than or equal to 10? And the answer is yes, it's true. So it's going to keep going. Okay, we'll do a couple of more, and then it's going to print x, which now is 1. Okay, and now it comes to the iterator again. It's going to add 1, and I'm going to click next. And then if you notice here in the global frame, it shows that x is equal to 2. Now we ask the question again, is 2 less than or equal to 10? Is that a true statement? Yes. All right, now that you kind of got the hang of it, I'm just going to click next, and watch this. Just watch what happens with this red arrow. So I'm going to click, and notice it's kind of like a circle. It just goes and repeats. And let me see, we're at 8 now. Okay, so it's going to keep going. It has 9, and so now it's going to get to 10, and the frame is the x is equal to 10. It asks, is 10 less than or equal to 10? Yes, it's true. Okay, and then it's going to go here, and then watch, the iterator is going to add 1 more. So now x is 11. Now it gets to the end of the loop, or this part of the loop where it says, is 11 less than or equal to 10? And that is now false. And so now it will execute, and it will be done with the loop. And so that in essence is the way a while loop works. All right, so we're going to jump back into the replit, and we're going to do a couple of more things here. So the next thing I want to do is just, let me get rid of this extra stuff since we know how to do it. All right, so we'll get rid of the comment as well. So this is the basic structure of a while loop. Okay, now one of the other things we could do is, well, actually, let's go ahead and look how easy it is to do something 100 times. So if I wanted to do this 100 times, I could run it, and now just that fast we're able to print out 100. We can go to 1,000. We can get ridiculous, and we can go to 1,000,000, which I'm not going to do, but just that fast. This just went to 1,000, and so that's that. Now let me get it back down, because we understand what a while loop is, and we understand the structure. Now I do want to come back to the standards. So we're going to come back to the issue of, hey, the teachers said you've been bad and you have to write 1,000 standards. No, I'm sorry. Let's just stick with 50. Okay, so I'm going to say I will not talk in class. That's it. We're done with our standards. We're going to be going out to recess. Not a big deal. Boom. Actually, and we've done it 10 times. She says, hey, no, you have to do it 50 times. Okay. Well, we're just going to change the number and we're going to write it and we'll go down to 50 times. And let me see so we can see it. And just in case you don't trust me, let's go ahead and do some concatenate. I want to do an argument here. So I'll just do, actually, we'll use an F string. Let's use an F string. And if you don't know what an F string is, you can look at my video. I'll put the link in the comments so you can see what an F string is. So I'm going to do an F string here, and I'm going to put X here. So what this is going to do is just show how many times we've printed this out, just in case the teacher says, hey, you need to write some more. So teacher said we have to do it 50 times, and I'm just going to print this out. And boom, there it is. So it's actually 51 times, but she won't get mad. All right, so we have 50 standards here. We're able to do it just that fast, and that is a while loop. Now, the last thing I want to cover is using a conditional statement in here. And so let's go back to, let's just keep this at print X. And we're going to go back to, let me bring this to, I'm going to do this at 20. We can keep it at 50. All right, so I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to put a condition inside of the loop. So let's say we get halfway there, and I could say, or we get to a certain number. I could say if X is equal to 25. All right, print. You have arrived at 25. Okay, so again, the condition is as long as X is less than or equal to 50, here's the do something. So this is the whole do something. And inside of here, we're going to add a conditional statement that says if X is equal to 25, we're going to print you have arrived. And then it's going to keep printing the X's or the value of X, and then we're going to make sure that we continue to have the iterator. All right, so let's go ahead and print this out, and let's see what the result is. And so if you notice, it checks for if it's 25 on each iteration, and these first have not produced any kind of result. But here, if you notice here, we arrive at 25, and it's going to do something at 25, but it's going to keep going. And that's pretty much it. Actually, let me introduce one other thing. I'm going to show you the break statement. So what the break statement is going to do is once it gets to 25, it's actually going to break out of the loop, break out of the condition, or break out of the loop, and then it will end the loop. And so let's go ahead and run that. Okay, and if we run it, okay, so here, if you notice here, it has printed out all of the numbers, but it has arrived at 25, and it's going to break out because we added the break statement. So the break statement will break the loop. It will basically stop it. Okay, so that's pretty much a while loop. I'm going to go ahead and stop here, and in the next video, we're going to cover a for loop. All right, and if you've liked the video, you thought it was pretty helpful, add a comment. If you have questions, just put them in the comments. If you want to subscribe, please hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video where we will talk about for loops. Class is now dismissed.